kind of covered or whatever. Yeah, yeah. Oh, sure. Uh-huh. That's awesome. Good for you.
All right. Good evening. I'd like to call to order the September 8th, 2022 regular meeting of the Naperville Park District Board of Commissioners. Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. Bridget, can we please have the roll call?
President Gibson,
Here.
Vice President Ruffing,
Here.
Commissioner Ansier,
Here.
Commissioner Janner,
Here.
Commissioner McBroom,
Here.
Commissioner Thompson,
Here.
Commissioner Todd.
Here.
Bridget, do we have any matters from the public on non-agenda items?
We do not.
All right, thank you. On to the updates and reports. I'll start with the Riverwalk Commission. The Riverwalk Commission has not met since our last update, so I would just like to update everyone that the next Riverwalk Commission meeting is September 14th at 7:30 a.m. at the Naperville Municipal Center in the lunchroom. Finance Committee, Commissioner McBroom.
Sorry, no report.
Thank you. Legislative Committee.
Yes, we met this month, and we had a few things to discuss. We discussed the IAPD legislative survey. Basically, it's what updates can be improved upon to help the park districts. We kind of brought up a few different issues, some that staff had brought up, such as drone issues, the river access issue. We have until September 16th to submit our response for what we would like to see on the survey. So if anybody has any ideas, feel free to submit them and we can get those on there. We also discussed the drone legislation that we have drafted. This basically would provide the park district control over the grounds 150 feet above the properties, which is reasonable that we could be using that airspace. And therefore, we don't want drones interfering with that. It also, we had privacy concerns with drones being able to take footage of children and families and people. So that's where the 150 feet above the property came from. We also had some grant updates, two important grants to note. One was for the Brooks Crossing restoration. Another was for the Will County grant to actually help with COVID-related expenses. We also discussed reaching out to other state legislators because the meetings that we had previously held with state legislators went so well, and asking them for help and updates for grants and things like that. So.
Great, thank you. Parks and Recreation Committee.
Parks and Recreation Committee met prior to this meeting tonight. We talked a bit about an online outreach to start letting residents know about invasive plant removal and improving the communication process around those projects as they come down the line. This discussion about the possible donation of a sound system for Knock Park. Got updates from all of the committees about the pickleball court analysis, an update on the Gold Star Memorial, which might be ready next spring, as well as the phases of the Ranch View tennis courts. For recreation, as we still have 2 more movies in the park coming up. The paddle boats are still open on the weekends, and splash pads will be open through the end of the month on days that are above 70. And then they're also participating in the senior outreach program this week with the city to hopefully promote some of the senior programs we have here at the Park District. Golf construction is still going well. Discuss purchasing options going forward with the Parks Department when it comes to obtaining vehicles and the things we need for them to do their work, as well as upcoming bids for garbage and recycling contracts. And we hired 3 new full-time staff. And then marketing, working on the website rollout, and still doing well with getting increased sponsorships. So that's the updates today. Next meeting will be on the 13th of October.
Great, thank you. I do not have a president's report this evening, so the executive director's report.
Thank you, President Gibson. Join the Naperville Park District outdoors for a fun and free Friday night kickoff to the weekend with a family-friendly movie at A Night at the Movies. Bring your own folding chairs or a blanket. The next movie is this Friday, September 9th at 7:35 p.m. at Rotary Hill, featuring Encanto. The final movie of the season is Black Widow, set for next Friday, September 16th at 7:20 at the 95th Street Community Plaza. Young children and their families will have a chance to see and explore life-size community vehicles, including police cars, tractors, park maintenance trucks, and more at the 23rd Annual Wonderful World of Wheels presented by Woody Buick GMC. This free event is Monday, September 19th from 11 to 1 p.m. Please note that the location of this event has moved and will now be held in the parking lot at the Fort Hill Activity Center located at 20 Fort Hill Drive. The splash pads at the 95th Street Community Plaza and Wolf's Crossing Community Park will be open in the month of September on days when temperatures reach 70 degrees or higher. Daily hours are 9 a.m. to sunset, weather permitting. We hope that you can take advantage of the extended summer weather and enjoy these water features at 2 great park locations. Now is a great time to think about joining an adult basketball league. The Park District offers a variety of leagues, including a men's 18 and over league, a men's 35 and over league, a women's 3v3 league, and a men's 3v3 league. You can sign up as a team or request to be placed on an interest list as an individual. Games start in early November. Register at napervilleparks.org. And then lastly, Magical Starlight Theater will hold auditions for the January 2023 musical Matilda on Saturday, October 22nd and Sunday, October 23rd. Lead and supporting roles are open to adults and youth in grades 4 and up. All auditioners are asked to prepare and perform a vocal piece based on the role for which they are auditioning. There is a dance audition as well. For details, visit napervilleparks.org/Magical Starlight Theater. That's all I have.
Great, thank you. All right, the treasurer's report.
Move to approve the July 2022 Treasurer's Report.
Second.
All right, roll call.
Vice President Ruffing?
Yes.
Commissioner Thompson?
Yes.
Commissioner Ansier?
Yes.
Commissioner Janner?
Yes.
Commissioner McBroom?
Yes.
Commissioner Todd?
Yes.
President Gibson?
Yes. All right, Bridget, could you please read the consent agenda?
Item 5.1, approve August 2022 disbursements in the amount of $1,243,522.83. 5.2, approve August FinTech disbursements in the amount of $4,469.45. 5.3, approve August 2022 customer refunds in the amount of $1,490.40. 5.4, approve August 25, 2022 regular meeting minutes. 5.5, approve Naperville Park District Personnel Policies 02-21, Diversity and Inclusion in the Workplace, and 02-22, Transgender Employment, and revisions to Policies 02-03, Americans with Disabilities Act, and 07-05, Proper Dress and Appearance. 5.6, approve Ordinance 1022, annexation of the property known as the Belvedere at 24254 111th Street. 5.7, approve Ordinance 1023, authorizing addendum number 6 to that commercial lease for 2244 West 95th Street, Naperville, Illinois, approved by Ordinance 789. 5.8, award the contract for the DuPage River Sports Complex Ball Field Number 4 renovation project to Sports Fields, Inc. in the amount of $72,710. 5.9, award the contract for the Frontier Sports Complex Fields Number 7 and Number 8 structure repairs project to MC Building, Inc. in the amount of $57,487.50. 5.10, award the contract for the Frontier Sports Complex Rothermel Family Pickleball Courts installation project, including alternate number 1, for the renovation of 2 existing basketball courts to Innovation Landscape, Inc. in the amount of $564,330. And 5.11, authorize the executive director to issue a purchase order to Polygon Corp. in the amount of $53,937.47 for dugout shelters for the Nike Sports Complex Ball Field Improvements Project procured through the district's membership in the Sourcewell Purchasing Network.
Thank you, Bridget. I would like to pull item 5.10. Are there any other items to be removed from the consent agenda and considered separately?
Yeah, 5.5, please.
Sure. All right. Yes. Can,
Sorry, I'm
no,
coming.
you're fine.
I think I
5.10 and 5.10.
You pulled 5.10.
And 5.5,
Okay.
yes.
So move to accept consent agenda items 5.1 through 5.4, 5.6 through 5.9, and 5.11.
Second.
All right, roll call, please.
Vice President Ruffing?
Yes.
Commissioner Todd?
Yes.
Commissioner Ansier?
Yes.
Commissioner Janner?
Yes.
Commissioner McBroom?
Yes.
Commissioner Thompson?
Yes.
President Gibson?
Yes.
Move to accept consent agenda items 5.1 through 5.4, 5.6 through 5.9, and 5.11.
Move to approve.
Sorry, I thought that's what I said. Move to approve consent agenda items 5.1 through 5.4, 5.6 through 5.9, and 5.11.
Second.
All right, all in favor?
Aye.
All right, unfinished business. Item 5.5, Commissioner McBroom.
As I was reading through the agenda and this item, I mean, it's fine. There's only one sentence that jumped out at me. Obviously, everyone has a right to human dignity and respect, but this particular line where it says employees have the right to be addressed by the name and pronoun that correspond to their gender identity upon request. Just did a little Google search on this to be sure of myself, but I see there has been a court case. This was earlier this year where there was a professor in Ohio that was awarded damages, $400,000 for, I guess, what the court ruled was compelled speech. So this is more of just, I want to make sure that this is something that wouldn't put the district, I guess if we had an employee, I would hope that everyone would respect, what people would like to be referred to as. But if we did have an employee who refused out of, whatever their beliefs were, or whatever the case might be, or I guess in other words, if myself, if people refer to me as Mr. or him, I mean, do I have the right to demand that people refer to me that way if I was an employee here? And if they didn't, what would be the, where does that go?
So Illinois has an equal rights amendment, different from Ohio. Our equal rights amendment, our Attorney General who interprets it, plus the recent Hobby Lobby case versus Somerville case here in Illinois, the Equal Rights Amendment is to protect people in the transgender community. And so when it comes to these issues, our Equal Rights Amendment and the manner in which it's being enforced in the state of Illinois and being interpreted by Illinois courts indicates to us that this is a protected right, that it's no different than name calling. I may have bigoted beliefs that I hold sincerely, but that does not give me the right to call anybody by offensive, bigoted names, regardless of my speech, my free speech rights, at least not in the workplace. I can call people whatever I want to privately at home and in advocating for whatever it is as a result of my beliefs I want to have. But in the workplace, we can and should, under the Equal Rights Amendment here in Illinois, require the kind of respect that is necessary actually to protect each of our workers, make it the workplace we want it to be, and also not run afoul of our obligations as an employer under the Illinois Equal Rights Amendment.
All right, thank you. Does anybody have any questions or comments on this item? All right. Do you want to move to approve? Okay, so move to approve, right, move to approve.
Move to approve consent agenda item 5.5.
Second.
Roll call.
Vice President Ruffing?
Yes.
Commissioner Thompson?
Yes.
Commissioner Ansier?
Yes.
Commissioner Janner?
Yes.
Commissioner McBroom?
Yes.
Commissioner Todd?
Yes.
President Gibson?
Yes. Okay, thank you. Item 5.10. Award the contract for Frontier Sports Rothermel Family Pickleball Court. Do we have any public comments? Or do I need to make a motion to? Oh, we need to make a motion
Motion.
to,
Move.
before we discuss? Okay.
Move to approve consent agenda item 5.10.
Second.
All right. Do we have public comments on this item?
We do.
Okay.
Dated September 8, 2022, dear Commissioners, we are concerned about the pickleball courts proposed to go in at the Frontier Sports Complex. Currently, they are planned with no sound or acoustic studies being completed, with no sound mitigation planned, extending hours to 10 p.m. by lighting the courts, which is against the agreement made upon annexation with the Park District that all lighted activities would be at the west end of the complex. We're not against the pickleball courts as long as proper sound mitigation is installed. There are countless lawsuits currently due to the loud pickleball pop and more so the pitch that it produces. These communities have had to move, shorten hours, and install proper sound dampening walls to ensure they are in compliance with sound ordinance laws. Planning sees no issues with this due to the fact that they have no complaints at other parks. We are being compared to Nike Park, which if you look at Nike, there is no comparison in the setups. Frontier Sports Complex is nestled in between two residential neighborhoods. Both have berms and fences, which the Planning Commission states is sufficient, according to the sound engineers I have spoken to and have sent pictures to. These fences, since they are not solid and in some places have 7 to 8 inch gaps under them, are nothing more than privacy fences and will not stop the sound, which we already know to be true since many times the activities feel like they are going on inside our homes. In addition, since the pickleball courts will be built in a north-south direction, the pickleballers will be hitting directly into residential areas, and because of the grading, the sound will go through the fence if hit directly on over the fence to the second floor rooms if hit underhand, and the sound that doesn't pass through the fence holes and hits the actual fence will bounce off of the fences and houses and further project. Not putting the proper sound mitigation in will deplete the residents of their tranquil quality of life as currently proposed for 15 hours a day. Add a little wind in and it carries that sound well past the homes that border the complex. The high school band can be heard clearly as far as 103rd Street. We are not against the park. We deal with the loudness of the basketball courts, the players swearing, people in the pavilion with loudspeakers and microphones, cars in the parking lot blasting their music, the kids in the skate park blasting their music, the soccer games, and the moms with their lovely air horns at 7 a.m. These are all things that come and go. They are not constant, and the decibels and pitch are far different of that pickleball. Average pickleball creates decibels from 70 dBA to 90 dBA. The City of Naperville's ordinance reads not to emit 55 dBA over the property line. Seeing as the basketball courts are on average omitting 58 to 59.1 dBA, you can imagine how loud the pickleball will be. On August 6th, this will be the reading in the morning, and we continue to monitor. The sound engineer that deals with pickleball stated we could get a reduction of as much as 10 dBA if a sound barrier fence with acoustic fence could be installed near the courts and if the existing privacy fence near the homeowner's property lines were enhanced with mass-loaded vinyl sound barrier material. The overall sound could be reduced to below the ordinance levels. An added benefit of this approach is that the sound barrier material on the privacy fence would reduce the sound of the other park activities. Since this is a public park, the option of requiring special paddles and balls that are quieter is not an option. In conclusion, we do not want to stop the pickleball courts. We want the Park District to build them responsibly as a good neighbor. We would like to see the Park District honor our agreement and not light them and shorten the hours to a minimum of 7 p.m. and provide proper noise abatement. We have never complained about park noise, even when it clearly is not in compliance with the Naperville ordinances. However, if the pickleball courts go through without proper noise abatements, we will have no choice to make complaints, which, as you can imagine, would be constant. We don't feel that it is a good use of already stressed city services, but to protect our quality of life and home values, we will have no other choice to go to whatever measures needed. Thank you for your time. Kind regards from Kelly Lord.
Right. Thank you, Bridget. I'd like to ask Director Schutz to come up, or Director Wilson to speak. Obviously, it's really important us to be good neighbors, and I know staff put a lot of work into addressing these questions.
Absolutely. So a little bit about the background. There's two main components as it relates to community outreach. So we'll start with that. And then also site analysis. So community outreach, we had a chance to lump this project in with our 2023 capital project open house. We kicked that off in early or mid-July of this year. That ran through early August. And we had a chance, not only through press releases, website updates, social media postings, a banner on site, as well as letters and a map were sent to the residents who live adjacent to Frontier Sports Complex. We released over 100 letters with maps. Of that extensive community outreach, we only received information during that time period from two individuals, one from the individual who provided the email that was read this evening, and from another one who just didn't like pickleball. We actually received input from residents who live in that neighborhood to the south of Frontier Sports Complex who strongly support pickleball courts being added here, as well as the folks that we know in our community that play pickleball. Another part of that as it relates to site analysis, we chose Frontier Sports Complex for numerous reasons. It is a sports complex that has extensive infrastructure and other amenities. What I mean by that is it has a south maintenance facility. We have staff readily available to maintain the courts. We already have existing parking lots and lighting at the location being proposed. We have a restroom, and we have other services. Even we heard from residents if we can add an AED to the restroom, which makes perfect sense. So based on the community support, based on the extensive site analysis, and a little bit more about the site analysis, the maps that were sent to the residents shows the proposed location of the pickleball courts. That is over 500 feet away from the residents to the south at Frontier Sports Complex. A great example is Nike Sports Complex, where we do have pickleball courts, and that is less than 500 feet away. We have received zero comments, concerns from that being operated for many years at Nike Sports Complex. So we know that from the background of the site analysis, as we talk about compliance and permitting, we have the permits in hand for approval for this project that we need to build this at this location. And then as far as the another part about buffering, we took this also into consideration. The south side of the proposed pickleball court location, we're looking at evergreen trees. So that's a natural way to buffer. There's also will be windscreens on the fencing for the pickleball courts. With the 500 feet away, there's existing berms and fence that are mentioned in the letter, but there's also a natural area with the pond. So there's a lot of ways that we're dampening the sound and knowing from past experience in other sites that this is not going to be a concern.
Okay, thank you. Are there any questions, Commissioner McBroom?
Yeah, since the agenda item is pulled, I should say this resident, she did call me. So I had a conversation with her, and it was a moving conversation. I mean, she was persuasive. I mean, it was her contention that Nike is not the same as Frontier. Frontier is wide open, it's windy, and I mean, she seemed to think that her adjacent neighbors she was going to get a petition. You know, that's kind of what I told her. I said, if it's just you, I'm sorry, you're going to need more people. You're going to need a petition. So I assume we didn't get a petition, but it does sound like she's not asking to kill the project, but you know, like this, whatever the special wall is, or not, you know, having it open till 10 o'clock. I don't know if the board is open to, you know, asking for those kind of accommodations or first of all, I mean, this fence that she's talking about, is that expensive or unattractive or?
So we have done some investigation as to the acoustic panels that are out there and available to be able to use them in pickleball applications. And there are panels that can be added to the chain link, the fencing that surrounds the pickleball courts. That could be done at any point during the course of the courts being in place. The acoustic fence panels, the initial quote that we received for just the southern portion of the fence would be a little over $20,000 to be able to do that. So again, that's something that we can certainly add in the future if we felt that it was needed. At this point, staff did not feel, based upon our experience in working with the other courts and the fact that we have courts that are closer to homes and we've had no complaints, that was not a needed expense at this time.
Yeah, I would suggest that we proceed. We can always add, my understanding is we can always add the acoustic panels later. So I would suggest that we proceed without the additional $20,000 expense to the taxpayer. And once the courts are open and clicking on all cylinders, we can monitor and see if this is going to be a reasonable concern or not. And then at that time, I think you said, we can easily purchase and add those. So that would be my recommendation.
I just have to say that I had asked you guys that how far away at Nike the pickleball courts are. And so I actually went out there to that tree line to see what I could hear. And between the activity going on in the park, traffic, wind, honestly, I could not hear the pickleball noise. I mean, it was, if there was anything, it was very muffled. It certainly wouldn't be detrimental. And I wasn't even in those people's backyards, in those people's homes. So I know they're two different parks. I know they're two different spaces, but this is going to be so much further from where we already have it that I can't imagine the impact is going to be so great with all the other activity that I know goes on near Frontier. There's so much activity going on around there. So that's just my personal perspective. Obviously, you know, I'm not there every day, but when I was there, there was a few pickleball players and I honestly could not hear them. So.
Sure. I know staff has put a lot of work into this. It's really important for all of us to be good neighbors. Sounds like staff's comfortable that this won't be too disruptive to the neighbors in the area. And I'm happy that there's ways, if it turns out it is, that it can be mitigated. But it doesn't sound like that's expected. And just as an aside, I mean, we're continually, the need for pickleball is huge, right? I've heard from so many residents and about this project in particular, about how excited so many members of our community are for these new courts. There's definitely a need. So I'm pretty excited about this project. So I appreciate the work you've put in ahead of time to make sure that, you know, we're doing this responsibly and that we have options if there are issues in the future. Any other comments or questions? All right, so we already have a motion. So roll call, please.
Vice President Ruffing?
Yes.
Commissioner Thompson?
Yes.
Commissioner Ansier?
Yes.
Commissioner Janner?
Yes.
Commissioner McBroom?
Yes.
Commissioner Todd?
Yes.
President Gibson?
Yes. All right. I don't believe we have any new business. So the next regular meeting of the Naperville Park District Board of Commissioners will be September 22nd, 2022 at 6:30 p.m. at Fort Hill Activity Center.
Move to adjourn the September 8th, 2022 regular meeting.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All right. Thank you, everyone.